Hi everyone, welcome to VLSI Academy. We have discussed a lot about CTS related concepts already, and in this video let us discuss about skew groups. It has been observed that sometimes during optimization the tool does overbuffering in the clock path, and for whatever reason the tool is doing so, the end user might end up thinking that tool is not understanding it correctly and might conclude that design is too complex or could be any other reason, but reality might be different. And in today's video we will try to understand the concept of skew groups, that what it is and why is it needed. Now by definition, skew groups basically are the group of endpoints or clock endpoints which needed to balanced against each other. Now some skew groups might be default, which are created by the tool. Some are needed to be created by the user explicitly to help CTS engine in optimization of the design. Now let's say you have 5 clocks in your design, and in group 1 you have CLK1, 2 and 3. In group 2 you have CLK4 and 5. So CLK1, 2 and 3, these all are synchronous to each other. Similarly, your group 4 group 2, that is CLK4 and 5, they are also synchronous. These clocks are also synchronous clocks, but they are synchronous to each other, which means that CLK2 can be synchronous to 3 but not synchronous to 4 or 5. Similarly, CLK1 can also be synchronous to either 2 and 3, that is within the same group, but not synchronous to CLK4 or 5, that is other group. So these are implicitly asynchronous to each other in the same group. Now in our example here, we have assumed that group 1 and group 2, these both of the groups, they are logically exclusive. Logically exclusive, which means that there is no logic common between group 1 and group 2. So therefore the clocks within each group are implicitly asynchronous to the clocks in other group also. Now by defining the clock groups, we have implicitly actually defined the skew groups. When we define the skew group, when we define the clock group, we are actually by default defining the skew groups, which means that CTS engine will try to balance the latency of 1, 2 and 3 together, and also independently try to balance the latency for 4 and 5, but not between these two. So when we define the clock groups, we are actually saying that the clocks which are falling in the same group, tool will balance the latencies of those against each other, but will not balance the latencies between the clocks of other group. So CLK1 will not be balanced against 4 or 5. Similarly, CLK2 will not be balanced against 4 and 5, and 3 also will not be balanced against 4 and 5. Let us consider one more example to understand the concept. So here you can see that we have sequential cloud of clocks. So let's say that there are 3 clocks, CLK1, 2 and 3, and assume that there is a heavy traffic between CLK1 and 2. So here and here you have a heavy traffic between CLK1 and CLK2 logic, while only a very few sequential working on CLK3. So you can see that CLK3 cloud is also smaller we made. So let's say that you have somewhere around 8,000 logics in this, which are on CLK1, and around 10,000 or 12,000 somewhere near that in the range, but here only some hundreds, in the range of hundreds. So that is why it is small in this case. Now clock enters the partition via 3 different clock ports. So let's say you have CLK1 clock port, CLK2 clock port, and CLK3 clock port, like this. So clock is entering the partition via 3 different clock ports on the left side, and certainly the distance between clock port for 3 clock 3, you can see that it is very large. Now interaction is very heavy here, but there is very less interaction here and less interaction here, because number of logics in the CLK3 is small. And when clock is entering in the partition, distance is very high for CLK3. So CTS engine would try to obviously insert more clock buffer for the CLK3. Now assuming that CTS can manage CLK3 sequentials for the latency of up to 150 ps, let's say average latency. So let's write down like this: average latency for CLK3 is in the range of 150 ps, that it can manage because it is large. This portion you see, it is very far in the physically the distance. Now what happens is, you have CLK1 and CLK2 sitting nearer, and average latency for that is CLK1 and CLK2. For that it is around 100 ps. Now what happens is, in order to balance these three clocks, it will push the latency for CLK1 and CLK2 sequentials to match that of longest latency, that is CLK3. So what will happen is, you will see more buffers getting inserted in CLK1 or CLK2 in this path. Why? Because it will try to match the latency. And what happens is, in order to balance, it is doing this. And if as a designer we know that interaction is less for CLK3 sequentials, and even if there is some timing perspective, there is a sufficient slack, we can do the separate skew group. So if you know that CLK3 sequentials, they have sufficient positive slack, or we do not really need to balance these three clocks to each other, then we can create a separate skew group for CLK3 sequentials. That will prevent the extra latency for CLK1 and CLK2, and this will help us in minimizing the clock tree buffer. And when you minimize the clock tree buffers, you actually save associated area, you save routing resources, and the most important thing is dynamic power you will save. Let us take one more example to understand the concept further. So let's say that we have a hard IP which we placed during the floor plan, and that is working on the same logic of CLK1, with which the standard cells are sitting on the left side. While doing the floor plan, we placed the IP on the right side, and floor plan was clean and passing, everything was good. But when we did the CTS, the logic is sitting on the left hand side. You can see that here. Now what happens is, now you can see that this, there will be a clock pin for this macro, and when, let's say, this is your CLK1 port. Now what happens is, you can see that this is very far, this is very far, and this is very near. Now in order to balance the latency, when we created the clock group CLK1, the tool will try to balance the latencies against each other. So it will consider this hard IP as a part of CLK1 group. Now because of that, what will happen is, you can see that it is sitting very far, but CLK1 is sitting very nearer. So it will try to push the latency for CLK1 sequentials, and for that it will insert the buffer in this path. And we do not want that. Because of that, timing might go bad, or area might be more, and that is not something which you want in the design. So we know that if, let's say, that there is very less interaction between CLK1 and hard IP, this logic and this macro, there is very less interaction, let's say that. So in that case, what you can do is, you can create a separate skew group for the hard IP clock pin. We hope you understood the concept of skew groups, and if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section or in the mail ID. And that's all for this video. We will come up with more concepts and further videos. Please do like, share and subscribe to the channel, and do give your important feedback in the comment section. Thank you.